Let's apologize for the delays. We've had to move back to the auditorium. We thought we were going to be just a small group of crazy people who were going to meet in the room. But since the numbers have since grown, we've then had to come back here. And so the Prof is here. He will be formally introduced by one of us. And then we are going to go ahead with this conversation. Let's then do the introduction and then take it from there.
Well, greetings, sons and daughters of Africa. And so, as Umfundisi have said, I will introduce Prof. It is quite a huge task for a person of my age to be introducing a veteran of this age, but I will try to do a brief introduction. So, Utatomkulu Kwesi Kwaa, here next to me, was born in the land of Ghana. We all know where Ghana is, in the West Africa. So, he was born in the land of Ghana, and after some time, because of some political reason, he had to shift from Ghana and come to Southern Africa, where he has worked, I think from 1976. He has been in Southern Africa from 1976. He has worked in different universities in Africa and outside Africa. And Kwesi Kwaa is one of the great Pan-Africanists that we still have here in the continent. So he's the Pan-Africanist in a scholarly way, and he has also been an activist on the ground. So he has worked with different political organizations here in in Southern Africa and also in Africa. He has worked with the PAC, he has worked with some members of the ANC, and he has also worked close with Sabelo Palmer, I think during the 1970s, if not 1980s. Yeah, so he has published a lot of material on Pan-Africanism. I'm not going to mention his publications, there are quite a lot. Yeah, so yeah, I think I would have to stop from there. Yeah, thank you.
And well, before I hand over to Prof, you know, I get to have this privilege to meet some of our guests and talk to them privately and glean a bit of some of those very stories that are very interesting. Prof will be publishing his autobiography at some stage, and in that autobiography there will be something quite interesting, I think. His encounter with Tsietsi Mashinini in Ghana, rather in Botswana, when they arrived, having left South Africa, and they arrived as a group. And that story is coming out of that autobiography. And I'm interested in that, you know, how, in fact, it took the form of an interview. It's a pity that some of those cassettes, they were cassettes at the time, you know, got lost, with some that landed in the hands of some senior people in the ANC and so forth. So we are privileged to have the Prof here this afternoon. I told him that he has come into a space that's redefining itself. A place that used to be a church for 20 years and has now sort of come into, as we said, a people who have come into a crisis of faith, who no longer look to the Bible as the arbiter of all truth and the sole authority to respond to the question of blackness. So our conversation with the Prof this afternoon rather, I think is part and parcel of that redefining of ourselves, seeking the best possible way to make a contribution to the emancipation of our people. So welcome you into the black space, and none of us need any introduction. If it's a black space, it means you've already been here, your story is here, and none of us can come in here as a guest. So welcome. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sister Zana, and all of you. nice to be here with you this afternoon and maybe share with you some ideas regarding the issues which concern you and which concern a whole lot of other people who are interested in the question of the emancipation of people of African descent. It's a big issue, it's a crucial issue, because you all know that we Africans, people of African descent, globally, if you look around the world, we are the most oppressed, the most long-suffering of humankind. Because of that, well, I have lived all over the world. In fact, maybe I should give you a little bit of that, a more correct version of my background. I was born in Ghana, yes, and then at 18, 19, I left Ghana to study in Europe. I went to Leiden University in the Netherlands. There I met two South Africans, in fact. There were very few Africans. There were two South Africans who lived in the same block I lived in. One of them is very famous now. He became a deputy vice chancellor of the University of Cape Town. Danny Kayana. He's a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And the other one also Danny became in fact also vice chancellor of the university in Durban, Technical University. Mangosuthu Technical first. The other fellow was the other colleague was Veni February. He also was a professor in UWC later years, but he died a few years ago. So from Leiden, I went to the University of Amsterdam to do my third degree. Taught in Germany. My first teaching job was with the University of Heidelberg in Germany in 1969. And before then, 67, 68, I had been doing research in East Africa. Went from Europe to East Africa to Makerere University to do research. And 69 started teaching in Germany, but living in Amsterdam. And 72 started working also at the University of Amsterdam. 74 I left Europe. I decided that there was no point in staying in Europe. Whatever contribution I could make was more meaningful in Africa than to stay in Europe. So I left Europe and went to West Africa, back to Ghana. But very soon to the University of Cape Coast. Very soon I got into trouble with the authorities here, the military government. The military government was creating problems for academics. And so I started a campaign. Campaign to free some of our colleagues who were arrested. And then they wanted to arrest some more of us, so I decided I was going to leave them. But by that time, I was already in contact with the Pan-African Congress of South Africa, because already from the 60s, when I was in Holland, Daniel Kayana was a member of the PAC, and so I got to know a lot of the PAC people who were coming in and going out. People like David Sibeko, and A.B. Ngogo. He was one of the first executives of the PAC. This was, I'm talking about 1965, 65 to 66. And Matthew Kwana, he was a journalist, a brilliant journalist, and many other people. And then, so I left Ghana in 76, the beginning of 76, and went to Dar es Salaam to speak to the PAC people. And they suggested that I take a job in the University of Zambia and then work with them underground. And so I was in the University of Zambia for a while when I got another offer from the University of Botswana. And again, the PAC said to me that no, Botswana is better because it's on the border with South Africa. You see, so my work was to operate as a secret agent. Collecting information from inside, passing it on to Dar es Salaam, and doing the same thing with information, infiltrating information into South Africa. So I was working with Sabelo Papa. He was the chap who introduced me to the CASAS in Gaborone when I got there. With some other people, Baldwin Planty, and some other people. Most of them they became generals. And my house became the armory, storing of weapons of the OAU Liberation Committee. Which we were storing in my house secretly. And lots of other things happened. I'm not going to bore you with all those things. They will appear in my book. My contacts with John Ganya. John Ganya was the number 2 accused in Bethel 18 trial with Seth Motoping. Seth Motoping was number 1. Ganya was a very fine fellow. He died also. He was on Robben Island 2 times. And there was this other friend here who was living in Cape Town for a long time. He was the youngest chap to be put on the Robben Island. That was Kwesi Kwaa. He died about three and a half years ago. We buried him here in Maitland. And those stories will appear. But I've also worked in the Sudan. Sudan also doing similar work, intelligence work for the SPLA, SPLM, Sudan People Liberation Movement, fighting the Arabs and monitoring the troop movements of the Sudanese army between the East Bank and the West Bank of the Nile. So I've been doing this sort of work across Africa, many countries. So I lived in Kenya, Botswana, Namibia, Lesotho, South Africa, Kenya, Sudan, Uganda. And when you live across Africa like that, my training was mainly in anthropology and sociology. When I came here as I became the head of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology in UWC. And then I retired from UWC as 1997. Set up a center for research here in Cape Town, CASAS, Center for Advanced Studies of African Society, which now is in Rondebosch, opposite the Baxter Theatre, working mainly on the languages of Africa, across the continent, working with academics, professors across the whole continent, trying to unify the spelling systems of African languages. Because I came to the conclusion a long time ago, about 30 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, that if we want to make progress as Africans, we cannot make progress using colonial languages. Every people in the world who make progress on the basis of their own languages. It's only in Africa that you have people who are trying to develop themselves, free themselves, emancipate their societies, who are trying to do that on the basis of somebody else's language. In fact, everywhere in history, throughout the whole of history, that you find a majority using the language of a small minority to conduct their affairs, you have a situation of colonialism, or internal colonialism, or neo-colonialism. Everywhere in the world where you have that, that's what it means. Now, the realization that language is important was based on very simple scientific grounds which you all understand. I will explain it very carefully, very quickly to you. Very simple. The difference between human beings and the rest of the animal world, that is the difference between us and the rest of all the animals in the world, all the creatures in the world, is that we are able to talk intelligently. We are talkative animals. We have a consciousness of ourselves as humans. That is the difference between us and all animals. Now, being able to talk, to speak, is the first characteristic of Homo sapiens. That we're able to talk, express things, ideas. The other animals are not able to do that. They learn things, but it's all automatic. Just like you can program robots now these days. You see on the television, they're showing all these robotic developments which are happening all over the world, creating robots which obey some commands. They program them with computers. That's how these animals are. But humans are the only ones who have self-consciousness, awareness of themselves, and who are able to express themselves. And the expression in language becomes the way of relating to other humans. Now, therefore, out of that relationship with other humans through language, we also relate to the rest of culture. Let me explain also very simply. Culture is a feature of humans. That is the main feature of human beings. Therefore, language belongs to culture. Culture, what is culture? Culture, people misunderstand the notion of culture. Some people think that it's just dances and songs and paintings. No. Culture is everything which human beings create in order to facilitate their lives. Everything. This is part of culture. This is part of it. This is part of it. This is part of it. The clothes we wear are part of it. Everything here is part of culture. Culture is therefore a dynamic thing. It's changing all the time. There is a misunderstanding about culture that people think these are old songs and old dances and old clothes from 100 years ago. The things you put in a museum, yes, they are also part of culture. But it is more. Culture is everything which human beings create in order to facilitate, to enable their everyday lives. Now you can divide it into two areas. Tangible culture, that is solid things like this, everything that we see, we can touch, is part of tangible culture, material culture. There is another side of culture which you can't touch, you can't catch, you can't hold, but it's created by human beings in order to enable them to exist. The intangible aspects of culture. So there are tangible and there are intangible, material and immaterial. The intangibles include language. You can't touch it. But language, religion, customs, beliefs, tastes, values. Are you with me?
Yes.
I must take you along completely. I'm an old teacher. I've been doing this for many, many years, so I must make sure that I'm with you, all of you are following me. So we reached the point where we understand that there are two aspects of culture. Material culture and immaterial culture. The material culture is everything that is material, which humans have produced or are producing, which they use. The immaterial are the things which you cannot touch, you cannot physically see, but which are of relevance to our collective existence, like religion, like beliefs, like values, like the songs, tastes. Now, in all the areas of culture, both the tangible and intangible, the most important area is language. Because everything that we create, we put into language. Every new feature of culture that emerges, that human beings create, they have language for it. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. Everything which does not exist in language is non-existent. There is nothing which is existing outside language. Are you with me? Is there anybody who is lost? Please, if you are lost, tell me. Have a question if you are, so that we are all together. You see? So everything is in language. Language is the main pillar for culture. If you want to make progress as Africa, language carries the history of a people. Everything about a people is in their language. How the people see the world, how they feel, how they have emerged, how they have evolved for hundreds of years is all captured in language. How they relate. For example, the Maasai people of East Africa, they are on the borders between Tanzania and Kenya. The Maasai. They are closely related to other groups like the Samburu. Samburu are also another very big. They are pastoralist people, keeping cattle and small livestock, goats. Not too much unlike some of our people here also. But the Maasai are just pure pastoralists, basically. They live mainly on the milk and the blood of their livestock. They're moving around all the time, looking for grazing areas for the cattle. The Maasai have 17 words to describe grass, different conditions of grass. Grass after the first rains, they can tell you. Grass which is about 1 month old, they have another name for it. Grass which is almost getting dry, they have another name for it. Grass which the animals can eat quickly, they have another name for it. You see, because their mode of livelihood is around cattle and cattle keeping. Grass is very important in their lives. They will go to war because of grazing land for their cattle. So they have 17 different words to describe different conditions of grass. You won't find it anywhere in the world. There are no people who do that. But in their culture, grass is of such significance that they categorize very different types of grass. More than any group of. Take the Eskimos who live in the North Pole, the Arctic. They have 21 words to describe different conditions of ice and snow. Because their whole environment is ice and snow. It's central to them. I'm saying that it's not by accident that they have so many words to describe ice and snow. It says something about them also. Their environment, their history, the people they are. Just like the Maasai says something about them. So language reflects, if you look at the language of a people, you tell who they are. You can tell who they are from their language. Are we together? Language, therefore, is the basis of your self-identification. You see? Language is the basis of your self-identification. if somebody takes you when you are a baby, you were born here in Cape Town, Kalicha, and immediately takes you away when you are a baby to Brunei, there are dark people there also. Do you think you'll be a Xhosa?
No.
Why?
A different language, so different language, not going to be exposed.
Say it loudly. Say it. Say what you're saying loudly so that the others can hear. It's not a private conversation between me and you.
I'm saying that I'm not going to be Xhosa because the country that you mentioned that I'll be living on, they do not speak Xhosa, so I'm not going to be able to speak the language. I'm not going to be exposed to Xhosa. I'm going to be exposed to their language and their culture.
Okay, let's go to the next question. If you go there, Brunei, and you live there for 20 years, 25 years, and somebody brings you back here where you were born, would you be able to relate to the people here?
Not.
Say.
Definitely not, because I was born here, but I was not exposed to the conditions, the language and everything, the culture here. I was exposed to that culture. So coming back here, it's going to be something totally different. It's going to be a culture shock.
Not just a...
Yeah.
No, because although historically you were born here and you are black like all the other people here, in fact, culturally, you are so different that you don't belong really anymore here. What that means is that it is not our color which ultimately makes us who we are. You understand? It is our culture. Now listen to that carefully. It is not this badge we carry, but the culture. And in the culture, the main pillar which holds us is language. It's language.
Singama Africa, Kaelicha, Ama Africa, Israel.